So this video is to help everyone with chi-square. So I had a student ask me a question about chi-square where you have p and chi-square is less than or equal to 20. Okay, and what I want you to understand is chi-square is always a right-tailed distribution. And so there's three questions. I'm going to do all three here. So this is question 1. Here's question 2. In question 2, you have the value where p of chi-square greater than or equal to k is equal to 0.1. And here's number 3. We're looking at basically find the median. Okay, and so there's another type here where you can also have p where chi-square is greater than or equal to 20. And we also have another one where they give you two extremes. So they say to you, for example, p of 6 is less than or equal to chi-square is less than or equal to, say, 13 as an example. And so whenever they give you the actual number, like in these types of questions, so I'll do this one as an example. So I'm going to focus on the p where you have both. Okay, and so I want you to notice that I'm going to go to an Excel cell, and I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it. And I'm going to punch in equals CHI. But this time, notice that I'm going to use Chidist. In the Chidist, let's say the degrees of freedom, hypothetically, we'll use degrees of freedom of 20 for all of these. Okay, so I'll say 20. Whatever the degrees of freedom they give you. Okay, so notice in this one, I'm going to start with x, which is 6, comma, and then the degrees of freedom, which is 20, and I'll get my first answer. Then for the 13, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say equals Chidist. All right, and so here's Chidist. I'll double click on it, and then see how it asks me for x. X is the 13, and then the degrees of freedom, which I assigned, which is 20. What we would want to do at this point is we would want to say what is the difference between them, because in this case they're actually asking a between question. So we would say that this value that we're looking at right here equals the difference, so it would be this value minus this value. So T12 minus T13, and that is actually your answer right here. All right, and so that is what you do for these questions where they give you the chi-square is greater than or equal to 20 or less than or equal to 20. I used degrees of freedom 20. Now I'm thinking maybe I'll change it to 19 at least so you can see the difference. So let's go with degrees of freedom of, actually let's use 12 for this one. So on this one, you're going to say equals Chidist, because they're giving you x. X is the 20. Your degree of freedom, which I changed to 12 for this one, is 0.06. Sorry, close this real quick. In this case, 0.067. And since these are always right tail, I want you to understand that it'll always look like this in a sense as far as the chi-square distribution. That 0.067086 is over here on this side. So you have to be careful with that notation. Everything else on the opposite side, you would do equals 1 minus that value. So in this case, 0.93. And you can see that this is the 0.9329, sorry, 932914. And this is the 0.067086. All right. So going along the same example, let me minimize this. I'll use degree of freedom. Let's leave this degree of freedom at 12. And so once again, we're going to go to equals in Excel, Chidist, because they're giving us the value. You're going to put in the 20, comma, and again, degrees of freedom 12. You see how you get the 0.067086? This time they're asking you for greater than or equal to 20. So in that case, you're going to say equals 1 minus that value. And this time your answer is actually here. It's the big piece, okay? Now over here where they're giving you the 0.1, this time you're going to use chi inverse. As a matter of fact, you're going to use chi inverse for the next two. And this one is always, we're always assuming 0.50 because the median is the 50% mark. So let's assume again degrees of freedom of, let's go with 19. And let's go here with degrees of freedom of 19 as well, just as an example. So you would say equals chi inverse. So notice that I'm going to chi inverse, no periods, nothing. See how they're asking you for probability? The probability in our case is 0.1, comma, and then the degrees of freedom, which is 19. And that would be your chi-square value. And that's all you need to know. Okay? For this one, for the median, so we would say equals chi inverse again. Double click. And this is the same, by the way. If you were going to use the chart, you get the same output. So this is 0.5 comma 19 because that's our degrees of freedom, and that gives me a chi-square of 18.337. So this is actually the chi-square value itself. So this is the chi-square equals. This is chi-square equals, not probability. Okay? I hope this was helpful. This should help everyone with a chi-square.